Sergio Corbucci. He's one of the greatest Western directors who ever lived. He's one of the great action filmmakers who ever lived. He's at the tip top of the action filmmaking game, which I actually think is the most cinematic game a director can do. All right, is to be a master of cinema action. The effortlessness of the mastery involved in some of those sequences. He was the most prolific of the great spaghetti Western directors. Corbucci didn't necessarily do the giant canvas epics that Leone specialized in, doing more down and dirty revenge stories, down and dirty cowboy pictures. Part of the thing that what makes the great Western directors great is they forge their own version of the West. And in the case of Sergio Corbucci, there is nobody who specialized in doing Westerns that committed to as surreal, as cynical, and as surrealistically violent a West as the Westerns of Sergio Corbucci. One of the most important parts about Corbucci's entire oeuvre was growing up under fascism. Corbucci was less interested in the concept of a hero leading his stories than any Western director ever. I would even throw a Peckinpah in that. You cannot call the leads, the protagonists of Corbucci movies as heroic. They're not heroic. The best you can say about them is they're avengers. They usually have a blood-soaked revenge in their mind that they're trying to quench the thirst of. But nobody can fulfill their archetypal function except in contrast to the villain. And the villains represent fascism. It's only the supreme evil of the villains that can even cast the lead protagonist as anything close to a hero. Yeah. Only by their hatred of the fascistic villains do they have a heroic patina about them. The muddy streets in Django are just a fucking revelation. I mean, it's just a revelation of dirt and grime and just of atmosphere. I mean, it's just one of the greatest Western sets of all time. Apparently, he almost destroyed that studio. That studio was never able to get the mud. There is an interesting thing about Django. So I haven't talked that much about Django. So let me talk a little bit about it. Okay. There's an interesting aspect to the movie. Who is Mercedes? And it's never, ever answered who Mercedes is. All right. And that's what I mean by that is Django has come to this town. It seems like he's coming there for a vengeance. You see him visiting a grave of a woman named Mercedes. Who this woman is not clear. The only thing we know about Django is he was probably in the Union Army or the Union Cavalry because of his cavalry pants. So he was in the war and he was definitely on the side of the North. He's going to the South, and the Colonel's character, he's definitely a figure from the South. He's definitely a figure from the Confederacy. And he has this Ku Klux Klan like hooded army, all right, that are, it would appear that they've wiped out all the black folks in the area, and now they're working their way through the Mexicans. It would appear that there were black folks in this area, and they were all murdered. And now it's the Mexicans' turn. Who is Mercedes? Is Mercedes Django's wife? Well, that's an interesting story. He has a wife, he leaves her in this village, a southern village, and goes off to fight for the North. And then comes back and she's dead, but it doesn't seem to suggest that he's just come back the minute the war's over. He's done a bunch of stuff and now he's there. So that's his wife. That doesn't seem likely. Doesn't seem likely he would have a wife. It doesn't seem likely if he had a wife, he would abandon her. I've come up with a version of it that I think is the case. I think he never knew Mercedes. I think he was in the war. And I think Mercedes is the wife of somebody he served with. Mercedes was the wife of somebody in the Union Army that he served with, that he died. And he died in Django's arms or around Django. Before he died, he gave him something to give to his wife. When the war is over, when you get around to it, go down to this village and find my wife. And I like to think, since I'm writing this all on my own, that it was a black soldier. And so, finally, he goes to this village to track down the wife of the black soldier that he knew in the town that she was living in, to find her murdered. And he finds the whole history of how this Ku Klux Klan-like gang has genocided the black folks in the area, or are now working their way through the Mexicans. And then revenge is perpetrated against the leader of this Klan army by an actor whose last name is Nero, which is Italian for black. That's my version of it. The one we're talking about of Corbucci's today is Sonny and Jed, starring Thomas Millian, Susan George, and a fantastic Telly Savalas. The effortlessness of the mastery involved in some of those sequences. You don't get that good until you've made 30 movies.
Yeah. That's
true.
When
you've made 30 movies and you know what you're doing, now it's just kind of coming off, like sparks coming off your fingers. We now jump to what is officially Corbucci's last serious, as funny as it is, all right, what is essentially Corbucci's last serious Western. It's also unique because it definitely takes place in the 70s. It does not have the same feel of his late 60s movies. I mean, they cuss, they say fuck a lot. It seems to throw away the cowboy dialect, all right, at some point. So it just sounds like a modern movie. Sonny and Jed is more or less Corbucci's attempt to do a Bonnie and Clyde. And set it out west. However, while it does have definitely Bonnie and Clyde like vibes, to me the way it plays is closer to Charlie Manson and Squeaky Fromm out west, where he looks almost exactly like Charles Manson, she looks almost exactly like Squeaky Fromm. I mean, to a startling degree. Thomas Millian plays a filthy outlaw character named Jed Dragato. He meets this character who ends up helping him out, Sonny, who's this young girl played by Susan George. So Jed takes her along, but treats her like shit, like a serf, basically. No. He realizes she's a girl. That's why he's like, oh my God, you're a girl. All right. Oh, well, I'll show you what I do to women. And you know why he realizes she's a virgin is her vagina's too tight. And it's very small, like the size of a penny. You actually feel good. I love you, you motherfucker. Which it seems like it should be spelled S-U-N-N-Y. All right. You watch the movie, and you don't like Jed at all. Everything is unsavory, and it's a constant challenge because just by sheer virtue of Thomas Millian's Jed Dragato being the protagonist, we kind of want to like him even though we don't. And then they give you a couple of instances where maybe we can start liking him and maybe he has changed. And then just the moment we start feeling that, he does something completely contrary to that makes us dislike him again. I mean, it's one of the, I am all about directors and screenwriters that challenge their audience. And I'm not in I didn't like that character. Well, fuck you. You're not supposed to like every fucking character. You gotta like everybody. All right. It's a fucking movie. All right. Challenge yourself. And it's a constant challenge. It's a constant almost affront to the audience of what they will sit for and what they can stand. But I was turned off by Jed's loathsomeness. And so I always considered this a half successful Corbucci film. And consequently, I haven't seen it for many, many years, and since the 90s when I bought this in Japan. So I watched it a second time with you, and I have a different feeling about it. I love it. I think I can't imagine a better Western for him to end his Western career on. I think this is as powerful a movie as you're going to see. Every fucking scene in it is terrific. And then the things that frustrated me before, they still frustrate me now, but now I'm enjoying being antagonized. Now I'm enjoying the frustration. I'm enjoying the challenge that he's throwing down. And the fact, and the thing that is unrefutable is the fact that as a performer, Thomas Millian does not give a fuck if the audience likes him or not. He does not give a fuck. He gives less than a fuck than Corbucci. He just doesn't give a shit. He is not doing anything for the audience. He's doing it to the audience.
He's challenging the audience.
And Corbucci is coming from the same fucking place. He is not trying to make Jed Dragato likable for you. And I did not root for him. In the first time I watched it, I did not root for him. I ended up coming up with a secondary reading of the movie. But watching it now, many years later, watching it with you the other day, I was rooting for Sonny and Jed by the end. By the end, I was. With all of Jed's problems, I was on their side. And I wanted them to be together. And I will have to say that this was my second time seeing the movie. The first time I watched it, I liked the movie. I loved two sequences, which I think are like two of Corbucci's greatest action sequences ever. Like the opening 10 minutes and then the scene in the corn barn. It's mind-blowing how good it is.
Yeah.
Telly Savalas literally makes a Molotov cocktail.
It's a Molotov cocktail.
They're looking for Jed and Sonny by sticking pitchforks in the corn, trying to, they know he's hiding there. They go, no, stop.
Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's make some popcorn.
No, stop. you gotta cook a pig before you stick a fork in it.
Yeah.
Because
And
if
they
they actually
belong
get
together.
together, that means Sonny wins. And that's important because, like, even though we're ambiguous about how we feel, or not ambiguous about how we feel about Jed, we are not ambiguous about Sonny. We are completely on Sonny's side. She's not a hero. She's a weird victim slash almost sort of villain. His male characters are all set up as specific archetypes, but his female characters usually border two of the archetypes together, like victim and villain or victim and hero. You know, it does also talk about our own, as a viewer, genre film viewer, our phantom limb syndrome, that when we're not given a hero to respond to, we want to respond anyway. So we almost have a phantom limb pulsating. And even the ambiguousness that we're supposed to feel towards Jed is sustained through the entire movie. And then you got on top of that, you have a magnificent Morricone score with, I think, one of his most, catchy and memorable, once you know it, theme songs. And the last thing that needs to be said that we haven't said, all right, is to talk about the Telly Savalas character in the film, who is what the film presents as its antagonist. Telly Savalas gives a fantastic performance, and his look in that big fur coat that he wears is just like, you can't, it's one of the most undeniable, along with Sonny's buffalo coat. Yeah. All right. It's one of these most undeniable images that just stays with you. But, you figure he's a lawman who's after Jed Dragato, and he's got a group of deputies with him, and he's after him for obviously some personal reason. And that movie goes on for the first half, and you just never quite know why. Yeah, you figure he's like some big deal fucking marshal. Yeah. All right. Or he's some Pinkerton guy. He is a man who is possessed with revenge over somebody. He has a right for that revenge. If you're as well versed in Corbucci's oeuvre as I am, a case could be made, one, because of how loathsome Thomas Leon presents himself through most of the movie, and the whole Charles Manson aspect, and the fact that they're presented as like hippie counterculture figures, and it's obvious that Corbucci has nothing but contempt.
Oh, he hates them.
Has nothing but contempt for hippie counterculture figures. Yeah. That is already established in his Johnny Halliday movie, The Specialist. Yeah. That's already known. That's known about him. I think there is an alternative reading to be had where Corbucci is fucking with how he gives the story, that he's actually presenting his villains as the protagonist. But the real hero, where he's coming from, is Francisco. Now, that was always my reading before, but partly because I only liked the movie so much. Now watching it this time, I think you can still go with that rating, but that seems more like a fanciful reading. Now I actually do look at Sonny and Jed as the heroes.